Okay, tell me if this sounds familiar. You have 500 things on your list. Everything feels like an emergency. All of it feels urgent. You have no idea where to start, and you're really overwhelmed with all the things you have to do. Your brain is screaming at you that everything is also important, not just an emergency. And yeah, you're kind of stuck in a decision paralysis. You have no idea where to start, and you don't know what's more important. Today, I'm going to show you a super simple way to organize your tasks and actually get things done, to prioritize what you should be working on first. And it has to do with a traditional matrix that you might have heard of before called the Eisenhower Matrix. However, we're going to do it in a brain-friendly way so that we don't get overwhelmed. I want to give you a simple way of going through your tasks and prioritizing them without tiring out your brain beforehand. If we haven't met yet, my name is Isabel, and on this channel we talk all about embracing your weird in order to build a better brand, business, and life. So I told you we're going to talk a little bit about the Eisenhower Matrix, and that matrix looks kind of like this. You'll see there's 4 different parts to it, and it's things that are urgent and important, things that are urgent but not important, things that are important but not urgent, and then things that are neither important or urgent. And what the Eisenhower Matrix looks at is what things to do first, what things we don't even need to do, what things we could delegate. But if you've ever looked at this and thought, cool, my brain doesn't work that way, that seems overwhelming AF, and so how about no? Then I got you, because we're gonna break this down into a step-by-step process that's a lot easier than it looks, and make it so that our brain can focus just on the next best step. So first things first, we need to get all the chaos out of our brains. So if you have to-do lists and things written down, put them, pull them in, pull them together. But then also I want you to set a 5 to 10 minute timer and just brain dump anything that comes up to you. Now, you could do this on a notes app, you can do this on a piece of paper, you can do this in your project management system, whatever is easiest for you. I usually brain dump just on a piece of paper because it's what comes fastest to me. Write down everything that comes into your head. It doesn't matter if it's a task, it's not a task, it's a project, it's not a project, something you need to do, it's just something that you're thinking of. It doesn't matter if it's something that you should have done 3 weeks ago or something that you don't have to do in the next 10 years. Just write it down. Don't judge it, just get it all out. And once you have that giant list of thoughts, we need to move on to step number 1, which is now. Let me explain. We're gonna look through all of this stuff that you wrote down, and you're just going to highlight the ones that you know you can do now. Anything that you can't do now, you can't take action on for whatever reason, you are going to move to a list that I like to call the future me list. AKA, this is future Isabel's problem. It is not my problem. All of that gets moved over, and you're only left with things that you can actually work on and get done now. That's when we move on to step number 2, which is asking ourselves, is this important? Now we're gonna highlight again, and we're only gonna highlight the things that are important, okay? Caveat here. I know your brain is screaming at you and telling you that everything is important, but if everything is important, nothing actually is. So again, what is actually important? And by important, I like to define that as things that move me forward in my work or my goals or my life, that actually make a significant improvement in my life, okay? Now, I don't care if what you're marking as important, again, is something you had to do 3 weeks ago and haven't done yet, or if it's something you need to do in the next 10 years. I just wanna know if it's important or not. If it's important, we're highlighting it. Everything that's not important gets moved over to a different list that we don't need to look at. That is the not important list. And now that we have filtered down and we're only seeing the important things, we're moving on to step number 3. Urgent? Of these things, which ones are urgent? Now, don't get me wrong, I know that we all want to work on every single thing that's important all the time. However, there are some important things in our life that are also urgent. We need to do them now for whatever reason. And these are the things that we're going to mark down. So let's say that you need to fill in your tax returns before April comes. That is something that is urgent. It has a deadline. It's something that needs to get done quickly. Or maybe it's something that you should have gotten done 3 weeks ago and with an actual deadline and you really need to get it done. That's an urgent thing. Anything that's not urgent, move it aside. This is like the best thing we have. We have a list of urgent and important things. You can stay in this step. You don't need to look at the rest right now. If you stay in this step, you already know where to start and what are the most important things and the most urgent things that you need to work on now. Little thing though, if you have more than 5 items on this list, I want you to pick the top 3 to 5, preferably 3, but 5 is fine, 3 to 5 things of that entire list and write them down on a separate piece of paper. That piece of paper is the only thing I want you to look at this entire week, because those are the 3 to 5 things that if you get them done, your week is like a success, a total success, right? Once you're done with those 3 to 5 things, you can go back to the rest of your urgent and important list and add more. But these are the 3 to 5 things that you want to really, really hone in on. If you got this far, I would love to know what's one of those things that are on your list. Leave it in the comments, share it below. Help me keep you accountable. Accountability is a huge thing for neurodivergent brains, so please remember that. And I do also want to say, you can stop now. If your brain is already overwhelmed, if your brain is like, okay, this is enough admin work for me, you can stop now. You already have your top priorities. Yes, you have all the other stuff written down and you can look at it later, but you already know what you can work on and where you can start. However, if you want to keep going, let me show you the magic that can happen if you go through the full process, if your brain has the capacity for it. Step number 4, take the stuff that was important but not urgent and look through it and see if you can schedule out a time each week to work on it. So for example, you could say, on Thursday afternoons, I'm going to work on stuff that's important but not urgent. Now, don't think about planning out when you're going to work on every single thing. A lot of times, we tend to fall into this trap of planning instead of doing. And so we're like, yeah, okay, so my important things, I'm going to exercise from 3 to 5, and then I'm going to do this from 4 to 3 on Thursdays, and I'm going to do this on Wednesdays from 1 to 2, which is great. But a lot of the times, there's projects that are can be done anytime. There's things on the important list that can be done at any time. And so it's more important if you have a random block of time that's like an hour or 2 hours every week where you can just sit down and work on those things that are important. If there's something that needs to be scheduled on a specific time and day, cool. But if it's not, just set aside an open block of time where you can work on this stuff. And then we go into step number 5, not important. Pull back that list of all the stuff you filtered out as not important and ask yourself, is there anything on this list that's urgent, even though it's not important? Sometimes there's things that aren't as important to us that we need to get done anyways. However, once you have those marked down, I want you to look at that list and say, hey, is there anything on this list that I could get someone else to do? Whether that's asking a friend for a favor or asking someone in your home for support or delegating it out by hiring out the work, anything that you can get off your plate from this list is amazing. So that's the thing we want to do. If it's not urgent and it's not important, then you've got 2 options. You can either delete it. I just realized this has been in my head and I'm pressuring myself to do something that's not important or urgent. So why? And so you just delete it and move on. Or you can add it to your future me list. This isn't important or urgent right now. I'll let future Isabel handle it if she wants to, when she wants to. But I want you to be real with yourself. I don't want you to just move everything over to the future me list. Really ask yourself, like, is this something I actually am going to do at some point, or should I just let it go? So you can reduce that future me pressure as well. Reminder, these are all extra steps to finish going through the stuff. But the only thing you actually need to move forward and get started are those top 3 to 5 priorities of stuff that are important and urgent. That is what you need to move forward in this week in a successful way. Our brains can easily get distracted by all the things that we have to do, should do, could do, want to do, etc. Which is why I want those 3 to 5 priorities on a separate piece of paper or a separate note or a separate thing that you can look at and remind yourself, hey, this is my focus, and come back to it every time you get distracted. This is your focus. This is your goal. Keep it somewhere that you're going to see it, right? Keep it somewhere that you can be reminded of, hey, this is what I want to get done this week. And that's it. A brain-friendly way to use the Eisenhower Matrix in a step-by-step process that's not as overwhelming as sorting through every single thing and asking yourself the full questions on every single task. Basically, Eisenhower Matrix without it making you want to cry. Try it out. Let me know in the comments what your 3 to 5 priorities are, or if you don't want to share all of them, at least share one of them in the comments so that we can help keep you accountable. If you enjoyed this video, I make new ones like this every single Friday, so go ahead and like and subscribe so that you'll see the next ones. And until then, stay wild, stay weird, and I'll see you in the next one.